Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Share the slides. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Allahumma salli wa sallim ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi fi kulli lahadhatin abada ala ni'amillahi wa afdalihi. Allahumma atina min ladunka rahmah wa 'allimna min ladunka 'ilma. Subhanaka la 'ilma lana إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. نوينا التعلم وتعليم وتذكر وتذكير والنفع والانتفاع والإفادة والاستفادة والحث على التمسك بكتاب الله وسنة رسوله صلى الله عليه وآله وصحبه وسلم ودعاء إلى الهدى ودلالة على الخير ابتغاء وجه الله ومرضته وقربه وثوابه سبحانه وتعالى مع لطف وعافية برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم إنا نسألك العلم لدني ومشرب الصافي الهاني يا وهاب يا غني. اللهم إنا نسألك العلم لدني ومشرب الصافي الهاني يا وهاب يا غني. اللهم إنا نسألك العلم لدني ومشرب الصافي الهاني يا وهاب يا غني. اللهم صل وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم ألهمنا علما نفقه به أوامرك ونواهيك وارزقنا فهما نعرف به كيف نناجيك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم إنا نسألك فهم النبيين وحفظ المرسلين وإلهام الملائكة المقربين في عافية يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم أغننا بالعلم وزينا بالحلم وأكرمنا بالتقوى وجملنا بالعافية يا أرحم الراحمين. آمين. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم إنا نستودعك ما قرأناه وما نقرأ في هذا المجلس وما قبله وما بعده، فاحفظه علينا حتى ترده إلينا وقت احتياجنا إليه يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم أكرمنا بنور الفهم وأخرجنا من ظلمات الوهم وافتح لنا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا حكمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. آمين. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم يا من مقال الأمور كلها بيده وإليه يرجو الأمر كله، يا فتاح يا عليم يا فتاح يا عليم يا فتاح يا عليم، افتح علينا فتحا قريبا. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي وسد لساني واهدي قلبي وافعل كذلك بأحبابي أبدا، وارزقنا كمال فتوح العارفين والفقه في الدين مع كمال الإخلاص والصدق واليقين والعافية والغنى والنصر والحفظ والنفع والانتفاع وخيرة الدارين وعلوم الأولين والآخرين. آمين. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين. الفاتحة. Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah. Today we are back at home again. We're not at any center. MashaAllah. I'm not so sure actually if we're allowed to go to a center or not. I don't even know what the rulings are right now. Okay, but anyway, we're at home now. Alhamdulillah. Okay, Bismillah. We were at the Nullifies of Wudhu, and in the previous week we were going through the second nullifier. I think I went through the third and the fourth very quickly. I don't remember going through it in in detail. Right, so today I'm just going to read through, right, about the second and third form. I'm just going to read from the second form because last week I didn't type it out. So today I typed it out. So I'm just going to read through it. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. From the book تذكرة الحضرمية فيما يجب على النساء من الأمور الدينية تأليف العلامة سيد محمد بن سالم بن حفيظ العلوي الحسيني الحضرمي الشافعي ونفعنا الله به وبعون في الدارين ورحمه الله تعالى على روحه إلى أن قال from the book the Hadrami reminder on what is compulsory on every woman to know of the matters of her religion by the great scholar and the descendant of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam Sayyid our leader Muhammad bin Salim bin Hafiz al-Alawi from the Ba'alawi al-Husayni from the lineage of the grandson of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam Sayyidina Hussein al-Hadrami from Hadramaut al-Shafi'i of the Shafi'i mazhab. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala benefit us by him and by his knowledge in both abodes. Still where he has said about the nullifies of wudu. I'll read through the second one, third one and the fourth one inshallah. Asani, the second one, Asani زوال العقل بنوم أو جنون أو إغماء وهو الذي نسميه الدوخة أو نحو ذلك فإذا زال عقل المتوضئة حكم بانقضاء وضوئها إلا إذا نامت ممكنة مقعدتها من محل قعودها فلا ينتقد وضوءها بشرط أن تنتبه على الحالة التي نامت عليها وألا يخبرها عدل بخروج شيء منها. نعم. Right, so number 2 we took last week, which is about loss of consciousness. So the second is the loss of consciousness by sleep or insanity or fainting. Hence, if the consciousness of a woman in wudu is lost, this would mean that her wudu is nullified, except for the specific case of a woman who slept while her bottom, her bottom is firmly settled on the ground. For this case, her wudu is not nullified on condition that she wakes up on the same state by which she fell asleep in, and that nobody trustworthy around her informed her that something exited her while she was asleep. And last week we went through this in detail, right? Inshallah. Right. So now today is a third one, which is الثالث الالتقاء بشرتي الرجل والامرأة الكبيرين الأجنبيين من غير حائل فمتى لمس الرجل المرأة في بشرتها من غير حائل انتقض وضوء كل من الرجل والمرأة بشرط ألا تكون بينهما محرمية بنسب أو رضاع أو مصاهرة وأن يكون كل منهما كبيرا أي بلغ حدا يشتهى فيه فإن كان الرجل من محارمها وهم أصولها وفروعها وإخوتها وأعمامها وأخوالها وبنو إخوتها وبنو أخواتها فلا نقض سواء كانوا من نسب أو من رضاع ومثلهم محارم المصاهرة وهم أصول زوجها وفروع زوجها وأزواج أمهاتها وأزواج بناتها فلا نقض أيضا وكذا إذا كان الالتقاء بالشعر أو السن أو الظفور أو هناك حائل فلا نقض أيضا. نعم. Right, so here he says the third, the touching of the skin of a woman with the skin of a man, and they are both matured physically. And notice this word, matured physically. In the Arabic it says kabirain. Right, matured physically does not mean balighain. It does not mean that they have reached puberty. It means that they have matured in their physicality. In every fiqh book, in every book of law, In the Shafi'i madhab, they will say kabirain, they will not say balighain. Right? They will not say that this man and this woman have to have reached puberty. No. Right? The ruling is that they must have reached a physicality that is mature. Right? And I will explain that in a while. What does this mean? Okay, a physicality that is mature. Right? So that means not a baby anymore, not a toddler anymore, but a boy, right? A boy or a girl, which I will speak about in a while, and not mahram, right? They are not mahram to each other. And who are the mahram? The maharim, right? The mahram, they are a specific group of relatives. There's no specific English word to use for the mahram, right? Because you say blood relations, that is not accurate, because there are mahrams that are not blood relations, like that of marriage. And there are also mahrams that are not blood relations, like that of breastfeeding, or milk, right? So that is basically a group of relatives. And the word mahram is from the word haram, right? Haram meaning impermissible, right? Haram meaning impermissible. Your mahram is called mahram because it's haram for you to marry them. Right? It's haram for you to marry these people, right? So that's why they call your mahram. Okay, they are haram for you to marry. So I don't know, the unmarriables. In English, you can call them the unmarriables. You can marry them without a barrier between the skins, right? So if a doctor were to put on gloves and handle his patients who are female, right, his wudhu is intact. Right? His wudhu is fine. It does not nullify his wudhu, right, because he's wearing gloves. Right? So as long as there is a barrier between the skins. Hence, anytime the skin of a man touches that of a woman without any barrier in between, both of them would have their wudu nullified. On both sides. Both of them would have their wudu nullified, with the condition that there is no mahramiyah. Again, there is no specific family relations by lineage, wet nursing, and marriage. Three areas. And that the both of them, the man and the woman, are kabirain, as I mentioned just now. Kabirain meaning that they have reached the age that they could be desired by, they could be desired. Right? They could be desired. Not that they have desire, they could be desired. All right? And not that you have a desire for them, but it is possible that they are desired. It's possible. Desire meaning in the sexual context, right? In the Arabic it says yushtaha. Ay balagha haddan yushtaha. Yushtaha is a passive form. That means there can be shahwa on them. Right? There can be a possibility of sexual attraction towards them, and this is usually described to be a boy who has reached a boyishness about him. So the baby chubbiness or the baby look has gone. No, not chubbiness, but the babiness has gone from that individual, right? And he has reached a boyishness about him. Similarly, a girl, right, that the babiness of her has gone, right? She's grown up, right? And there is a femininity that is obvious about her. There is a femininity that is obvious about her. And mashallah, when you reflect on this law in Islam, right, that this would nullify the wudu, and it's impermissible in fact. It's impermissible in fact for someone who is not a mahram to be holding these children who have reached an age whereby their physical bodies can possibly be desired by an adult. It's possible that they can be desired. Right? And you see, Islam, mashallah, Islam covers every angle, every door, and it blocks, it creates this very, very, very thick barrier of protection, right, around individuals, right? Especially those who are innocent, those who are and those who are vulnerable, right, to those who are around them. So you see, and the scholars put this age of possible desirability of a person, right? There are scholars who put it as young as 5. Right? For a person who is not mahram, right, to not be allowed close to these individuals. And in fact, there are scholars who will they put further rulings on girls that by the age of two, no male is to see her private parts. Even her direct mahram, even her own father and her own grandfather should not, or uncle, even her own mahram shouldn't be looking at her private parts above the age of 2. So some scholars even speak to that extent. And this was written, hundreds of years ago. They already identified, right, that this is to be given as protection, right, to young girls, by the age of 2. And so as far as possible, the women of the house, they are the ones who are responsible for guarding over the little girls in the house. Subhanallah. See, if you look at Islam, really, that every angle has been addressed. The door is shut, right, and to not allow any form of abuse, any opportunity for shaitan to come and whisper to a person and put sick thoughts in their heads, right, to hurt the people in the house. Subhanallah. And if you look at the statistics in our day right now, not just in America or the West or whatsoever, you look around, it's unfortunately it's worldwide. And in Singapore, Singapore is not an exception to this dunya. Singapore is very much part of this dunya. The cases of incest, right? The cases of and the majority of abuse cases happen within the house. Within the family, within the house. And Islam, from every angle, Islam blocks. Islam puts a block on any possibility of abuse, right, and harm to be afflicted on those who are innocent, right, or those who are vulnerable, right, in the house. So even to the point in the Shafi'i mazhab, a young boy, right, who is not a young boy who has not reached the physicality of a man, right, he is not allowed to be alone in a room with a grown man. Even to the extent, the scholars have spoken about it. A young boy without a physicality of a grown man shouldn't be alone in the same room with a grown man, right? Because they consider a young boy to have the physicality of a woman. Because he's thin, or he's like a woman in his physicality. As a young boy around the age of 7, 8, or 9, right? So even there, the scholars put a door there and they shut that door. Right? Don't even allow for that to happen. As far as possible, don't allow for two people to be alone in the room. Don't allow for that as far as possible. Islam, even in when it comes to bringing up your children, by the age of 7. You should separate them in the beds. You should separate them in the beds by age of 7. The earlier, the better. The earlier, the better. Separate your children in the beds. So the girls in a room, the boys in a room. Never together. And as far as possible, not in the same bed. So even if it's girl and boy in the same bed, as far as possible, not in the same bed, but separate beds. And even these are all laws in our religion. They're all there in our fiqh, right? It's even not under the same blanket. So brother and brother, not to have the same blanket, but to have separate beds, individual beds, and individual blankets, right, for them. Subhanallah. It's really, so much protection. And on top of that, the talk of taqwa, the talk of, fearing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the talk of, devotion to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everything as a package, right, to protect. And then again, not to show people their awrat. So the awrat between the same gender, between the navel and the knee, but that is the minimum awrat. As far as possible, you should be covering as much as you can, in front of your own family members, not to go around the house with tight clothing in front of for women, for your girls, teach your girls not to walk around the house in tight clothing in front of their father or their brother or their grandfather or their uncles or whoever they are that is coming to the house. And I don't know, Allahu Alam lah, but I always say it. I actually think it's really unfortunate that our society, our girls are always being clothed in tights. Why are all the girls' pants like tight? Why are they tight? right? I mean, I've seen like even for young ones, like in the age of 3, 4, and 5, right? They're clothed in tights. Right? They wear like a dress or something, and then or it's not even they wear t-shirts, right? But for some reason the bottom garment is always a stretchable material. Right? Why is the market like that? Of course, the market is sick, right? But we should also be vigilant. Right? Don't clothe your girls as young as 2 years old. Right? I would say as young as 2 years old. Right? Don't be naive. Right? Don't be in denial. Right? There are men out there who are looking, and shaitan is out there working. Right? He's hard at work, shaitan. And this kind of things, when it comes into the family, may Allah protect our children. But when it comes to the family, it of course, these kind of things, eventually, inshallah, there's if it comes into a person's family, right, there will be there is a lot of trauma, right, that surrounds these issues that cannot be removed. It cannot, no matter how much this kind of trauma lasts for a long time, and it could even be throughout a person's life till their old age. And as you see in all these studies and all that, it would bring about a whole like a mountain of problems, right? If the person does not go through a proper way of handling it. And I say a proper way of handling it, meaning by the religion. A proper way by the religion to handle the trauma. Right? So Islam, with all the laws of Islam, it goes by prevention. Right? Prevention is always the first line of defense, right, against any evil in this world. Right? Rather than cure. Right? Cure is there, yes, taubat and cure and forgiveness and moving on and then getting better and then being religious and so on. Right? But cure does not remove the scar. Right? Scars are there even though someone is cured. Right? The scar will still be there. The trauma can still be there. Right? So Islam goes by the side of prevention. So I'm talking to women here. Right? All of you are women here, and some of you are mothers, some of you are aunties, some of you are older cousins. Right? Some of you wherever you are, women, look after our girls and our young boys and our little young boys. Right? Women, right? Look after them and guard over them. If you are dressing up your little girl with tight clothing, stop it. I'm saying clearly outright, stop it. Right? Stop it. Even if you say no one's going to hurt her, right? But people are with their own eyes, right? You don't know because no one's going to come up to you and say to you that they're looking at your girls. Right, but even as a woman, when I see that some of the girls, around, when they wear tight clothing, you can see their panty line, you can see all kinds of things, right? And I feel shy for these girls who are 2, 3, 4 years old. Why can't we give them loose pants? My mother goes to the market to Geylang, and she will search for loose track pants for her grandchildren, especially for her granddaughters. She will search for loose ones. Right, get loose pants, right, for them, so that their bottom half of their body, which is where the sexual attraction lies for children, the bottom half of the body. Right, so it's a big fitna in our society. I think it's a terrible fitna in society that our girls are given leggings. Right, they are given leggings. It's a terrible fitna in our society, and we need to speak up about it. And to speak about it because it could just be going past people, and they're not realizing how terrible it is to dress your children in leggings. Right? Stop dressing them in leggings. Right? Give them loose pants. Give them pants. When you give them skirts, give them skirts. Right? You're going to put tops on them. Then make sure that these tops are long, that cover at least to their thighs or to their knees. Right? And not saying that, I'm saying, they're still so young, you're going to dress them up in that way. It's not about them, it's about those people around them that you don't know what's going on in their heads. Right? So Islam goes on the side of prevention. Right? Don't be naive, and don't be like that. Don't underestimate the godaan or shaitan. Don't underestimate the trickery, right? The trickery and the sickness of shaitan. And we are in a highly sexualized society. of TV and advertisements and movies and all kinds of things, Subhanallah. I once said a sheikh said that of the wisdom of hijab, of the wisdom of hijab, right, is that if every woman were to observe the collective law of hijab, if every woman in society were to observe collectively the law of hijab, and you see, the laws of Islam strive to give as maximum protection as possible to society. Right? It's not to say that it is like 100%. It will not cause. It will stop every form of crime or every form of wrongdoing. It's not that we say that, because human beings are human beings, angels. Right? So there are monsters out there, right? There are terrible human beings out there, right? Who will still go, barge through the entire, protective laws of the Sharia, and they will still find their way to do their evil if they want to do their evil, right? But Islam teaches us to take on maximum protection, right, for ourselves, because of these monsters out there, and they exist. In every time, in every zaman, they exist, right? So in our zaman, even more, right? The pedophilia in our time, it's horrifying and it's sick, right? It's terrifying and horrifying. So anyway, he was saying that, you see, that the entire collective law of hijab is that, and this is and really, if anyone want to say, tell the men to lower their gaze, you've been telling them for 1,400 years, right? Tell some more. There will be those who won't. That's the fact of the matter. Right? There are those people out there who are sick, who will not. Right? They will not lower their gaze. They will not. They will not care of how they hurt people, and they're just sexual predators, and they exist. They're predators. They don't care what they do. Right, so as much as all this, people out there cry and say they should lower their gaze, they should not be doing this. Yeah, they should not. But they do, right? What are you going to do about it? Protect yourself, correct? It's like saying, and protect your family. It's like saying, people shouldn't be stealing. So leave your key in your car. They shouldn't be taking my car. They should not. Yeah, they should not. But they will. There are those who will. Right, so what do? Take the keys with you. Lock your car. So I don't know how people can still till today, go on and on and on and on and on about saying, tell the men. We have been telling the men. Allah has told the men and the women in the Quran, lower your gaze. Allah has said it. They're ignoring Allah. They're ignoring the laws of God in the Quran. I mean, those who are Muslim, they're ignoring it flat out. They look at all these things. So what makes you think that a woman going out saying that to them, with her entire self exposed, is going to make them not look, right? So anyway, he was saying that this law of hijab, right? There's a collective benefit in society that if of course we're in a society whereby the internet has destroyed everything, right? But if a society will be completely hijabbed, right? Hijab meaning the women are not seen by men at all. This would bring a lot of protection to the young ones. He said that. And why? And basically, if this entire idea of hijab and cover is extended outside of the home and inside the home, it means all around extended. And of course, on top of that, with taqwa and its religious teachings and so on, everything, the whole package. And he says, why? He says, because from the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, this is from hadith, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that if any one of you, to the men, if any one of you go out and you see a woman whom you are attracted to, right, sexually attracted to, then let him go home to his wife immediately. Right? Go home to your wife immediately, because she has what she has. Right? Because the wife has what that woman has. Right? So go back to your woman and go to what is halal. Go to what is halal. Right, so, and he said that, mashallah, that wasn't a she, I think it was one of the Syrian shaykhas, it was a woman who said this. She said that, when people go out there, all these men, right, and then there are those who are sick in their heads, right, when they go out there and they see all this exposed flesh that's in society, very promiscuous, very lewd, exposed flesh on TV, on movies, in billboards, right, in advertisement, in all kinds of things. They see all these things on screens. Nowadays, on screens. They can't get to that woman who's on the screen, right? But their sexual drive is being triggered by her, right? So of course, for the Muslim, they are to istighfar, they are to lower their gaze, they have to go back, they are to take wudhu and pray tawbah and repent, right, from even looking at that picture. But not everyone does that. And some people, right, whom shaitan gets the better of them, right, because they're unable to control themselves by the trigger they saw out there, they go home and they hurt those who are in their possession in the home. I mean, not in their possession, but it's basically in their, in their control, right, in the home. So this is basically what some of the Jews have said, lah. And it is true. It is true. As much as you want to deny it, as much as people want to say, we're not at all removing any fault from the men. The fault is fully them, right? I mean, fully those who commit crime, they are the criminals, lah. No one's ever said they're not criminals, right? But Islam tells us about protection, and very heavy protection, like on everyone. Right, so when they go home, right, and they are triggered by those that are outside, and of course, again we say it is still them not knowing how to handle themselves, right? But then now they go home and they see what is what victims are easy prey for them, and then they pray. Right, they prey on these easy victims, and a lot of them sometimes as they grow older, they get more and more. I mean, and they might repent. They might change their lives. They might regret what they fell into. They might, and may Allah give everyone repentance. But damage done. Right? Damage done. Right? So Islam teaches us protection. Right? So when we speak about the kabirain here, right, the kabirain, our scholars know what they're talking about. Right? And they know the nature of human beings. It's not just in our time. It began a long time ago. Human beings were like this already. And you can go into the research on different cultures. Right? Different cultures had really all kinds of issues, right, going on with regards to children, right, and sexual desires for children. Islam has already recognized that from a very long time ago, and Islam teaches Muslims to protect the young. Right, so from this kind of thing, right, so they are the age whereby they could be desired. Right, so if you look at your girl, if you have a girl in the house, you look at your girl, right, she has a femininity, showing about her, right? Then guard over how you dress her. Guard over how you dress her. Don't try to make her attractive, right, in front of men. That day, one of my teachers, she was saying that like she saw a girl during Eid. This girl was 7 years old, and she had the mother had dressed her in a dress, right? The dress, it came up to half her thighs. Half her thighs a dress, but she was wearing leggings again. And this entire culture of leggings. She was wearing leggings, right, underneath the dress, and the mother had permed the girl's hair. Right, so she had this beautiful, wavy, permed hair, right, falling down, on her back, right, and then the mother had actually put on eyeliner for her, had dressed her up. She was attractive, a 7-year-old attractive girl, right. The men were looking. Grown men were looking, and when the girl played and she bent and she turned and she twirled and whatsoever, the tights you can see right to her undergarment, right? The line of her underwear can be seen, and we as women, we know this. We can see it in our girls. You can see it. Cover your girls, and don't. I mean, look at their wardrobe. Look at their wardrobe, right? And cover, right? Whatever that is too tight, throw it out. Get what is loose. If they have tights, right, then cover them with jubah. Right? Get a long dress. Right? Teach them to be sensitive about wearing what is tight. Teach them about that. Teach them also about wearing sleeveless. Right? To be unable to wear what is sleeveless from a very young age. I would say from the age of 2. Don't give them anything sleeveless. Everything with sleeves, and if you can, everything with long sleeves. Subhanallah. I know when I reached primary 6, right, or Sec 1, I could not wear short sleeves anymore. Like in my house, in my home, I cannot wear short sleeves. Always wearing long sleeves. Because why? I have 5 brothers. I have 5 brothers, and I feel very uncomfortable in short sleeves. The only time whereby I ever wore short sleeves, when I was growing up, was when I went to school uniform. And even then, you wear a jacket over, to cover the short sleeves. Right? But it was, teach our girls. Don't give them sleeveless. There's no point. There's no need to give them sleeveless. Don't give them leggings. There's no need to give them leggings. Don't try and beautify them. You're just making them vain, and there's no benefit in that, in making them vain. Right, so inshallah, okay, I'll continue. No, I'll not stop talking about this because so much, so upset with how I am very upset. I'm very upset with how people are so, women are so somehow or other unaware of what men see when they see a girl being dressed up in that way. Subhanallah. Some men, not all men, some men. But it's just that one man, who's sick in his mind. Right? Just that one person to harm your daughter. May Allah protect our daughters. Right? So again, full protection. Don't place them alone with anybody in the room. Right? With another man in the room. Ensure know who are the caregivers. Know exactly who are the caregivers. Teach them from a very young age, right, about who can touch them and who cannot touch them. Who can see them, who cannot see them. Right? And from a very young age, teach them all of these things. And that is your responsibility in protecting them. And every woman to protect the young ones around us. Whether you are their mother or not their mother, you are to, if you see something that is not right, then follow up on it. Alhamdulillah. Okay. Okay, so continuing, right? So kabirain, meaning they have reached the age whereby they could be desired. I think it's amazing that even in Islam there's even this term whereby it's not baligh but kabir. And then they say balagh al-had yushtaha. Right? They have reached an age whereby they can possibly be desired. Right, by a man or by a woman. By consensus, this is for human beings above the age of 9. By consensus, 9 and above, kabirin. Right? Already kabir. 9 and above. Some consider the age of 7. Right? Depending on your child. By the age of 7. And I have kids who are with me in my that I teach, right? That I would say 5 years old, they should not be salaming the men who are not mahram to them. 5, right? Because of really how graceful they are, or how pretty they're, very pretty, and how pretty they are. How so you should teach them at the age of 5 to go and say salams to those whom they are not mahram to, right? But don't actually hold the hand, nor allow for people who are not mahram to them to kiss them, right? No kissing also, right? So teach them that's your auntie, that she's my sister. Her husband is not your real uncle. It's your auntie's husband. Teach them that. So don't salam him, but say Assalamualaikum uncle. Okay, so Assalamualaikum mamu. Right, go there and give salams, but don't touch him, nor should he touch you. Right, so be very, very, very vigilant lah. Naam. Right, so some consider the age of 7, and some consider this to be as young as the age of 5. Right, so from the age of 5, be vigilant, and some even put it down to the age of 2. Right, the age of 2. And I would say in our society, whereby it's a highly sexualized society, right, I would also say age of 2. Right, age of 2. Try not to allow for non-mahram specifically, and then men in general who are not their close family members, to handle them, or to wash them, to cebok them, to istinja for them, and so on. Right? A woman to go and wash them as far as possible. I know some families it's difficult because husband and wife live together at home, And then sometimes you have a brother around, you have a uncle around, you have grandfather around, and then they will clean the baby girl lah, right? Or the baby or the girl toddler or whatsoever. Try your best lah. Try your best, right? In whatever you're able to do, right? So if you are around, then make sure you are the one who handles it, or your mother handles it, or your sister handles it, right? Or just a woman handling it. For their toilet matters. And also, I'm going to add more and more things lah. But I'm just going to take the opportunity to just speak it out. I say it. When it comes to bathing, for the children, when it comes to bathing, to give them a cloth, for them to wear, to get for them a cloth, right, for them to wear around their waist, right, so it covers between their belly button, and it covers half the thigh or maybe up to the knees, right, of their private parts, and that's how you bathe them. Don't bathe them stark naked, right? That is not the sunnah in the first place, right? To always cover your aura, whether you're alone or whether you're bathing a child, is sunnah. Teach them the sunnah. So give them a cloth. Get a very simple cloth, it's not a very light cloth, it can dry very easily, and then put a rubber band, a rubber through the waist is good enough. And my sister, she had like a swimming trunks for her son, and then she just like cut through it, so it became like a kain. It became like a wrap, right? A wrap. But it's swimming trunks. So you just cut through the pants area, so it became just you can easily istinja, right? The boy, right? So and then she used that for his bathing wear, right? So yourself as well, do not bathe your children stark naked, right? Children meaning like above the age of 2 lah, around them. When they can stand, try and put something on them, and then you bathe them. Also, I've seen, la hawla wala quwwata illa billah, but I've seen parents, they bathe their son and daughter together, and their son and daughter are old enough to be able to know the difference between boy and girl. Right, so I've seen parents. The son is what, 5 years old, the girl is 4 years old, and then you put both of them in the bathroom, stark naked, and then bathe them together. That is haram. It's haram on the parents to do that. Right? Bathe them separately. Teach them shyness. Even if you have a baby girl, right? Get your older sons to not look at the baby girl. Right? Protect her. Right, protect your son as well from that. Or if a baby boy, get the older girls, if you have an older sister or older daughter, to not look at the aurat of her baby brother. It's all protection, all protection. And also sensitivity towards looking at aurat. To not want to look at aurat. Right? So even if someone is there, even if you're an adult, someone's changing her baby, don't look. Why are you looking at the aurat for? Right? Don't look. Right, it is aurat, looking at aurat decreases a person's memory. There's a lot of negative implications in looking at aurat unnecessarily. If it's necessary because you're a mother, you're a caregiver, you're a nurse, then that's a different thing, right? But if it's if you don't have to, then don't do it lah. Okay, I want to finish this part, inshallah. Bismillah. Let me just finish this part about mahram. Otherwise I will Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad. Okay, so the men who are mahram, who are the mahram of a woman, they are her ancestors, meaning her father, grandfather, and all above. All above meaning great-grandfather, great-great-great-grandfather, and then so on. Right? So the fathers, is called the fathers. Then her descendants, meaning her son, her grandson, her great-grandson, and all below. So all the sons, right, from her lineage, from her up and from her down in the same lineage. Her brothers, her father's brothers, her mother's brothers, and the brothers of her ancestors. So her granduncles, that means her grandmother's brothers, her grandfather's brothers. Right, so all the brothers and direct brothers of her parents and her grandparents, and the sons of her siblings. Right, the sons of her siblings. So her nephews, right, and then her grandnephews. Like her nephews and her grandnephews, meaning the sons of her nephew. Okay, the sons of her nephew. Hence, these people, if they come into contact with her, her wudu is not nullified. This is applicable to both family by lineage and family by milk. There's no difference between family by lineage and family by milk when it comes to mahramiyah. When it comes to mahramiyah, so your mother, right, who gave you, the woman who gave you milk, is the same, you say, standing as the woman who gave birth to you, right? The woman who gave birth to you, your mother, right, your mother by lineage, and the woman who gave you milk, right? So your mother by milk, they are in the same standing when it comes to mahramiyah, right, when it comes to being mahram. So meaning, the woman who gave you milk, her husband is your father. Her husband is your father. The woman who gave you milk, her brothers are your uncle. Okay? And her husband's brothers are your uncles. Right? The woman who gave you milk, her father is your grandfather. Right? And her husband's father is your grandfather. There's no difference between the woman who gave birth to you and the woman who gave you milk when it comes to mahram. When it comes to mahram. Right? So her... so the woman who gave you milk, right, her children, right, are your siblings. Like how the woman who gave birth to you, her children are your siblings. Okay, you get it, eh? Right. So in that way, and so on and so forth. Right. So all exactly the same. So all you see from number 1 to 4, right, whether she gave birth to you, right, or she gave you milk, right. So they're in the same category. Okay, as for mahram from marriage, right, from marriage there are 4 types. Right, there are your husband's ancestors, right, so your father-in-law, your grandfather-in-law, and all above, right, so grandfather-in-law, and so on. Your husband's descendants that are not from you, obviously, right, so your stepson, your step-grandson, and all below, right, your husband's descendants. So they have to come from your husband's lineage. Your mother's spouses that are not your father's, right? So your mother married others, right? So, and your grandmother's spouses and all above. This would be stepfathers, stepfathers, step-grandfathers, and so on. Your daughter's spouses and your granddaughter's spouses and all below, right? So which means your son-in-law, your grandson-in-law, and so on. Right? So all of this will be under your mahram by marriage, so all by marriage. Right, so for, and this is mahram for life. Mahram for life. So even if a person were to divorce from their husband, their father-in-law is mahram to them for life. For as long as they have already consummated the marriage with their husband. Right, on condition they have consummated the marriage with their husband, then immediately your father-in-law for life, he is your mahram. Even if your husband, or even if someone's husband divorces her, or he dies, her father-in-law mahram, right, onto her. Okay, so for this, why you don't see in this list, the sister of the wife, of course not, right? Because sister of the wife, the sister-in-law, right? She is mahram conditional. There is a mahram on her. And mahram by the meaning of the word mahram, meaning that you cannot marry your wife's sister. You cannot marry your wife's sister while your wife is alive. Right? That is haram in Islam. So it's mahram by meaning of the word mahram. What's the meaning of the word mahram? Unmarriable. Right? Unmarriable. Right? So for as long as your wife is alive, a man cannot marry 2 sisters together. That means he can't have 2 wives and that they are sisters. In the Sharia of Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that cannot happen. Right? So if his wife passes away, he can marry the sister, like how Sayyidina Uthman did. Sayyidina Uthman married the next daughter of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam after his daughter Sayyidina Ruqayya passed away. He married Sayyidina Kulthum. Right? That is permissible. Right? But while the wife is alive, the sister cannot be married by that man. Right? Only when she passes away or she's divorced. Be very weird actually, he divorces one and go and marry the other sister, right? But if that does happen, it is permissible, right? But while she's alive, not permissible. But that is not called mahramiyah because it is not a forever mahramiyah, right? Because the moment that the wife dies or the wife is divorced, then the husband can very well marry the sister. So which means that she's not mahram, right? She's not mahram in that sense. So of course she has to cover her awrat and she can't touch her the brother-in-law, of course not. Right? She has to guard herself against it. Similarly with nieces and aunties, all the same ruling. If a man is married to a woman, he can't marry her niece. right? If a man is married to a woman, he can't marry her auntie at the same time. They're all under the category of sisters. So for these people, if she comes into skin contact with them, her wudu is not nullified. It is also not nullified if she comes into contact of the hair, the teeth, or the nails, and also not nullified if there was a barrier between her skin and theirs. Right? And then the fourth one is to touch the private organ of a human being. There's number 4, which I will go into later on. Okay, there are a lot of questions here. Let me just answer the questions. Okay, question number 1. Does it apply for a young boy with ladies mahram? Should similar caution be applied for the young boy? What do you mean? Caution meaning? I guess if you're saying, not to be alone, not to be, of course, for older women, I mean, the fear tends to be towards men, right? You don't, I don't know, Allahu Alam, but you don't actually suspect, or you don't actually, like fear a woman molesting a young boy. It might happen, I don't know. But usually you fear men, and you fear men molesting a younger girl or a younger boy. You fear that, correct? Yeah, but you can have that. I mean, it's having more barriers. The more barrier, the better. Right? The more barriers, the better. Right? So you can have the barriers. Yani, if the man is the one who offers salam and also kiss, not forcefully, but the child doesn't have time to react. Right? The child can. I mean, if the child is friendly enough to say Assalamualaikum and then make up a conversation and ask questions or run off and play a game or whatsoever. But say Assalamualaikum. Just like that. Say Assalamualaikum. And then or tell them to stay by you lah. To stay by you. Or what could also do is that you could you as the adult, you can inform the adult men in the house that my daughter or my child will give salams to you all and respect you all, right? But he will not be, or she will not be touching your hands, or having you kiss them, right? And I'll appreciate that. You can be very gentle and nice about it. So you can give them like a heads up, right? So I've taught my son, I've taught my daughter, right, that who are his mahram, who are not his mahram, and so he knows who to salam. So you do the work lah. Instead of putting it on your child to do it, you do the work and you tell, your family members that you've taken this stand lah. It's not a stand that you've taken, it's fiqh, it's law. It is law. Right? But you see so much protection, It's not that you suspect everybody in the family, but Islam is about protection, right? And in fact, the cases of abuse came from people whom the family least suspected. They least suspected these people. So you can't say, how could I suspect so and so? You can go into many of the cases of abuse. It was the least suspected person who was the abuser, right? And I've read, if you read cases online, in Singapore, so many cases in Singapore, the grandfather, right, the brother, the uncle, the even the ustad. In Singapore, there are cases of ustad also, right? So don't be naive. Don't be naive, or woman, don't be naive. Okay, the other day I had one friend, right? She was just saying to me that she was, in her workplace, right? She deals with clients, yani, and she had a client who was an ustad, right? And she was doing some work, in the house of the ustad, and the ustad's house he has his wife there, his kids there, and everything. And she was just doing some of her work in one of the rooms, right? When she was there alone by herself in that room, the ustad came in. The wife was in the house. Wife was somewhere else in the house. So there were people in the house. She was just doing her particular work that she was doing in a particular room, right? And she just told me that the ustad came in, right? And he gave salam when he came to the room. I didn't think much about it, but then he touched her shoulder, right? And then when she jerked, because he touched her shoulder, right? And he said, "Oh, sorry, I accidentally touched your shoulder." But she was saying that, it's, woman, when it's an accidental touch, when it's a real touch, you know it, right? Like, woman, we know it. We know when the touch was accidental, and we know when the touch was intended. We know it. No matter what the man says, we know what was accidental and what was intended. Yeah lah. And then but then she felt, that she couldn't say anything about it, because if you go and say to someone that he touched my shoulder, first and foremost, nobody will give you any attention. Secondly, they'll be ustad. How can ustad even come? Ustad probably accident lah. Right? Why you making such a big fuss about it, right? So it leaves a woman in like, what can I do? I can't do anything at all, because why? Ustad, right? Ustads are trusted. Ustads are trusted. So, but don't be naive. They're not prophets. Ustads are not prophets. they're human beings. Right? So don't. There are too many cases. There are too many cases for us to be naive about. When it regards to all of these things. Right? So about a young son, should not salam aunties too. Teach him to give salams. Let's go there, smile at them, say Assalamualaikum auntie, how are you today? How are you doing? How's your back? How's your back? How are your knees? How this, how that? The touching of the hand and the kissing of the hand is not necessary once you learn to be friendly with people. So aunties who are not their direct relatives, right? And in fact, I would say that giving pleasantries is much more respectful than a person who just gives his hand and hardly looks into the eye of the one that he's doing salam, that he's shaking her hand. And many of our kids are like that. They come and unless I have to teach the children who come to my classes, you give me your hand properly. If you want to salam me, give me your hand properly. Don't give me the tips of your fingers. Tips of the fingers, you give it to me. What you meant to do with your fingers? Right, handshake. Put your hand in my hand, right? And then I'm their teacher, Ustaza. So you take my hand and you kiss my hand, and to teach them to honor their teachers and to honor knowledge, right? I'll teach them that. I hold the hand properly, right? Put it and then kiss it. Don't bring it to your forehead. Also, there's a culture of putting it to the forehead. I don't know why there's this culture of putting it to the forehead. Like why put to the forehead? Right? The forehead. Do what with the forehead? Right, so but I mean teach them, right, to hold the hand properly, right, for those who hold the hand lah. But because I've seen, I mean even girls, even teenage girls, when they come and they salam, they give a very limp hand, such a limp hand. I don't know what to do with your hand. Inshallah, teach them lah. But those who can't salam, teach them how to be pleasant, how to be respectful, how to be pleasant, how to be cheerful. Okay, another question here. Ustazah, so at that age, we should be strict on our children to cover up in front of non-mahram. Yes. Like when we gather at grandmother's house, the younger girls want to remove their hijab, for example. Okay, when it comes to hijab, right, because hijab is an extent, like hijab, right, it is like the hair. Okay, I'm going to be to draw a line. The hijab is not the hair is not a sexual organ. It's part of your aurat, yes, it is. Right, but the sexuality of a person, the beauty is in the hair. Yes, there's beauty in the hair. But we're talking about sexuality, right? Because yushtaha and shahwa, right? The shahwa, the sexuality of a person happens between where? Between specifically the navel and the knee, right? And for girls who are like 10 years old, 11, right, around the chest area, it begins to grow, right? So young girls, Annie. So you see like your child, right? So if your child is like 5 years old, 6 years old, her hair is still baby hair, right? But between her navel and her knee, be more vigilant. Okay, be more vigilant. Right? So ensure that she's not tight down there. Right? Make it loose, right, for her. Right? So that of the boys and the girls in the house. But of course, if she can keep her hijab on, keep it on lah. Right? But what you don't want to do is to be to be overbearing. Don't be overbearing about it. Okay, so which is why I think that giving them loose pants is not a big deal. They don't see it as something heavy to carry. Like hijab might be a bit heavy on the younger kids, especially in the home, right? So allow for them to cover their hijab if they want to, right? But loose pants is perfectly easy for a lot of children, right? Loose pants. In fact, they like loose pants. It's easier, right? So my brother, he's so annoyed with all these leggings, because especially when his girl was 2 years old, 3 years old, he was like, she wants to go toilet, so troublesome, so leceh, these leggings. So to take it off, to put it on, take it off, put it on. He went to get, loose pants for all of them. easier, loose pants, to go to the toilet and everything. Right, Allahu alam, Allahu alam. Right, so so I would say for the hijab, right, put in emphasis on the hijab at the age of 9, 10, 11. Emphasis, right? So you encourage it, but don't be heavy about it. I encourage it, build the love, build the attachment to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, attachment to Sayyidina Fatimah Zahra. When it comes to the hijab, it's not about enforcing, it's about educating. You educate them, you teach them, you make it beloved to them, you make it that they want it, they love it, they love the covering up. So in that way, it is. I mean, it is a form of oppression, right? If you were to force it without teaching. To force something without teaching about it, it is oppression, on a person, because it makes them resent part of the Sharia, and you're doing them a major disfavor in doing that to them, right? So just don't be so hard on them. Let them choose for themselves what they want to do. But as they grow older, talk to them more. Talk to them more about this law in Islam. In the terms of mahram, point number 4, sons of her siblings include both your male and female siblings. Yes, of course, your male and female siblings. Your brother's sons, your nephews. Your sister's sons, your nephew. Right? So all your nephews are your mahram. My brothers have a lot of sons. Right? They're all mahram. Your sister has a lot of your sister has sons. So sons of your siblings. All your siblings. Your half siblings, your full siblings. Right? Half and full siblings. Their children are your mahram. Okay. Another question here. I knew this topic will bring a lot of questions. So I know last week I went through very quickly. I have to go back to it. I have to revisit this topic. My sister adopted a boy. I was his nursing mom. My daughters and him are also mahram. Yes, for as long as you nursed your daughters. So they're all mahram by milk. Yes, correct. And your sister is mahram to him as well, because your sister is his auntie. Right? So your sister is counted as his mahram because she is the sister of his milk mother. So she's the khala, she's the auntie, right? So he is also a mahram to his adopted mother by this way. And that's how you can make adopted children your mahram. By having somebody in your family give them milk. Right? I mean, your sister. Sayyidina Aisha, whenever she would identify a baby, like a toddler, because he has to happen before the age of 2. The milking, the ruling of making someone your milk child is that you need to give them milk at least 5 full feeds before the age of 2. Okay, 5 full feeds before the age of 2. Then the child becomes your mahram. Right? So in Aisha, she used to identify children that she would like for them to be her mahram, and she would get her sister, right, who is might be breastfeeding, right, her sister who's breastfeeding, to feed these children, right, to give milk to these children, these boys. Then these boys become her nephews, right? And then she will teach them, because she's a scholar, a teacher, so she will teach these boys who have become her nephew by her sister giving milk to them before they reach age of 2. Okay. Is it cannot salam your father-in-law if you have not consummated your marriage with your husband? Good question. Never occurred to me. I'll ask about it. If you are you mahram to your father-in-law if you have not consummated your marriage with your husband? I'll ask about it. I don't know. I don't know. What about if the father-in-law is the stepfather of her husband? Meaning, I mean, then the father-in-law is twice mahram, right? Kan? I mean, no. The father not twice mahram. The father-in-law is just mahram by father-in-law. Right? Your husband's stepfather is not your mahram. Your husband's stepfather is not your mahram. Only his father by lineage is your mahram. Okay? Right? But this man who's your father-in-law, he is mahram to you by marriage, father-in-law. Question here. So what can a person do if they found out their 9-year-old son has Google sexy girl? Kesian lah this boy. And this was an outcome that an older boy in his school taught him to do so, or showed him. I was shocked. I explained to him before and explained again after that happened. However, I feel devastated. Any advice on this? This is the reality of our time. It is the reality of our time. When I was teaching in a particular primary school before, as young as primary 2, the boys in the class are talking about porn. As young as primary 2. I found out when I was teaching in a particular primary school before, as young as... It's shocking, yes. At the same time, not shocking anymore. Unfortunately, at the same time, not shocking anymore. It's so widespread. It's horrifying lah. It's horrifying how widespread it is. That's why for me personally, I'm honestly appalled when parents give children their own devices. Never give your child their own device with a free internet access. The internet is a playground of the devil. And even if they don't search it, the pop-ups are evil. Right? The pop-ups are and we have seen it with our own eyes. You go online, right? I don't know if anyone here has not seen a pop-up you wish you didn't see. And subhanAllah, it just comes up, right? And what if this boy is growing up and he doesn't know how to handle himself or his emotions or his curiosity? So it's not even desire, but curiosity to see these things. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Right, so I would say the first thing first, no devices in their hands until they're 21. 21 okay lah, 16 lah Basically, once they're responsible. When are they responsible? 21. Okay, I don't know. I don't know what age you put as responsible. But I said no devices in their hands. No devices in the hands of... Okay, for primary schoolers, no devices that is their own individual... nothing should be their own individual... No device should be their own individual possession. No matter how well they do in school, they should not have a device that belongs to them solely. You're just throwing the fire at them. That's all you're doing. I have a shared device. If need for school, shared device. Needed for... Allahu Alam, find a way to protect them. Because, you see, the evil out there is so terrible. You do not want to play with this. You don't want to have any chances. I had a student before when she was primary 1 in a madrasa. Her own female friends, girl with female friends, told her, and she was primary 1, right, to go to the internet and type sex. She had no clue what was sex. She went online, she went home, and said to her mother, her mother told me the story. So said to her mother, my friend in school did not say, go online and type sex. A lot of nice things come up. Girl teaching a girl. And the mother was horrified. And then the mother warned her never to do it, never to type it, never to what. But even after some time, she found out her daughter actually, the shaitan works on them. Her daughter actually went to type out sex to see what comes up. Wala hawla wala quwwata illa billah. Right, so I would say, as what Islam does, prevention. Right? Prevention. Remove devices from their hands. Do not have computers alone in their room. Do not have phone with internet connection alone in their hands. Do not... Basically, you're going to close the door from every angle. Because shaitan has opened the door from every angle. Right, so you need to fight back with shaitan, and don't think they're not going to be missing out. They're going to be missing out all this evil lah. It's good for them. Be missing out on all the evil, right? Don't have them fall into something and then be regretful thereafter. And on top of that, also guard over what books they're reading, right? Because there are novels out there that are so explicit. It's just porn in writing, right? And they exist in the libraries, right? Explicit, really just porn in words. So guard over what your children are reading as well, like if they're reading all these novels out there. Right? So right? So I would say just close the door on everything. There's just only one level. We've not even gone into all this sexting and abuse, and it's a whole big, just a terrible world online, right? It's a terrible world online, and even if someone might say there's goodness there, the goodness is so compared to the evil, you can get the goodness somewhere else. You don't have to go online to get the goodness. Get the goodness somewhere else, right? Go get it somewhere else, offline. MashaAllah. Question, sometimes how you have no time to react when your cousins or friends' sons try to salam you. You react lah when they come to you and they salam you. Just don't give your hand. It's like a man coming up to you and wanting to salam you, right? If a man comes up to you and puts out his hand to shake your hand, right? Teach them. So sorry, you're a big boy already. You cannot salam woman, okay? Just teach them. It happens to me all the time. So just teach them. It's okay as a point to teach them. Okay. What about us and non-Muslim, I would say non-Muslim women, will our wudu be nullified if we touched a non-Muslim of the same gender? No, it is not nullified. Right? Touching a non-Muslim of the same gender is perfectly fine. So you can shake the hands of all the Chinese women, the non-Muslim women, and Chinese got Muslim, non-Muslim, so all the non-Muslim women out there. Salam, go and touch the hands of all the old aunties. You can, no problem. If you work with young children 5 and below, we'll definitely have physical contact. Should be cautious and consider our wudu to be nullified, or can we still consider wudu to not be nullified? Depending on the physicality of the child, right? But I would say if 5 and below, no lah, right? But maybe 7 and above, right? So here, for mahram, we can salam and kiss the hand of our mahram uncle. Yes, can. Your mahram uncle, you can salam and kiss the hand of your mahram uncle. What I was saying about no kissing is about, like, how come some uncles, when they carry the nieces, right? Not to suspect them, but just as a precaution. So some men, they hug, little girls very, very tight. Of course, it's from love and everything, and they want to kiss them and everything. But just be, on the vigilant side. Be vigilant. Right? The touching is not excessive, not inappropriate. And as far as possible, I tell your brothers, don't be so, so physical with my daughter. Just say to them, that I'll prefer for her to not be used to, men being physical with her. It's just to say that. It's just as a precaution. Hopefully you don't take offense. Grandparents, siblings of the opposite gender are not mahram. No, they are mahram. They are mahram. Grandparents, siblings, the brothers of your grandparents are your granduncles. Your granduncles are mahram. They are mahram. Your grandmother's brother is they're all mahram. If someone has a daughter out of wedlock, okay, what is his status with this child if he marries the mother? He is the mother's spouse, so he has the ranking of stepfather, not real father, because there is no lineage between a girl out of wedlock and her biological father. There's no lineage. So he has the ruling of stepfather. Is he mahram? Yes, as a stepfather. Right, so mother's spouse. Okay. Nowadays nikah, only the bride will salam both mother and father-in-law. I don't see your question. What's the question? Nowadays nikah, only the bride will salam both father and mother-in-law. What's your question? Okay. Meaning that the groom does not salam the mother-in-law. If he wants to, he can. I know some cultures, they just don't. I know when I first got married, I salam my father-in-law before I left the house, and I think he looked so awkward with me coming up to him and salaming him. And then when I check my husband, it's not the culture. It's not the family's culture that the opposite gender salams the opposite gender, even if there is mahram, even if you are mahram. It's just not the culture, right, of the family. So I didn't do it ever again. He looked so awkward, with me coming up to him and salaming him, but I didn't do it ever again. But I will give salams to him. I will say Assalamualaikum Mama, and I'll say to him, and I will say, go off first, okay, then go off, that kind of thing. I mean, I'll give pleasantries lah, right? But I don't touch his hand anymore because he got so awkward with me touching his hand. Even though he's my mahram, he is my mahram. At what age can we discuss this sex with our children? Okay, when it comes to appropriate and inappropriate touching, from as young as age of 2 and even younger than that, when they can understand, to teach them who can touch what, and basically nobody can touch anything lah except for you and as the mother, or the auntie or the grandmother, right? But teach them who cannot touch what and cannot see what, and what they cannot touch of other people, because sometimes abuse comes with an abusive adult making the children touch them. Right, so the abuse can go 2 ways. So teach them on where the abuse happens. Right, so cannot touch this, cannot touch that, cannot see this, and cannot see that, and cannot. So teach them all these things. Of course, no discussion of sex yet, right? But just more of precaution, so as to protect them from abuse, Whereas when it comes to sexual intercourse itself, right? To teach them about the opposite gender and the aurat of the opposite gender. So you go in stages. First and foremost, protection for the self. Then secondly, in stages, right, about what they can see and what they cannot see, and what can be seen of them and what cannot be seen of them, right? And then as they grow older, lowering the gaze. So when they see pictures that are haram to see, to lower the gaze. And as they grow older, right, so basically when it comes to intercourse itself, that they can, before they get married lah, right, when then they have to know about intercourse, right? But basically prior to that, what they need to know is appropriate, inappropriate looks, inappropriate touching, appropriate or inappropriate speech, right? So sometimes also inappropriate speech is abuse as well. Someone is talking to them in an inappropriate way. Now, I had a student once whereby an ustad was messaging her, and they were working on some program, but the ustad began to talk to her in a highly sexual, inappropriate way. That is abuse. That is harassment. Right? You cannot allow a man. So you teach your daughters, a man cannot talk to you in this way. He cannot give you this kind of texting. Right, that is inappropriate, and that is sexual abuse, right, but by words. Okay. Between fathers and daughters, what to be wary of? Aurat. Right, aurat. So don't wear things that are tight in the home. Right, when your daughters sleep, lock the door. Right, because again, we're not suspecting anybody, but it's just precaution above precaution. Precaution above precaution. Right, so daughters, when they go to bed at night, tell them to lock the door from inside. Lock the door. Right, so no one walks in on them while they are asleep. And it could be that the person had no intention, right, but it could be when someone is asleep, their garment rides up. It moves up the body. So the thighs are exposed, the body parts are exposed, or they sleep in an angle whereby, their shape is obvious. Right, so just to have precaution, keep the doors locked. Right, and it's to guard over their aurat. Not to wear too tight clothing at home. Right, to wear a bit looser, clothing, more respectable lah in clothing in that way. Okay, I've been teaching my 3-year-old, but I'm more curious. He will cover his eyes when he saw girls in sleeveless on his own accord. But now he will try to see behind his hand. Shaitan lah. Shaitan works on human beings from the age of 0. Don't be. Shaitan begins his work very easy, very early, before we even begin our work to try and teach them about Islam and protection and aurat and everything. Shaitan begins his work from the age of 0. To corrupt the human beings. So of course curiosity is human. But as he grows older, to just to just teach him, right? To be more and more vigilant lah. Slowly lah, teach. Okay. Ustazah, with regards to that, especially in our times, what is the appropriate age to teach our future children and letting them know about the dangers of internet outside world? As young as possible. Teach them danger. See, danger does not discriminate between ages. Danger does not discriminate between ages. You teach your children about danger from as young as they can understand. Teach them, right, about danger as young as they can understand, and teach them how to block themselves from danger, and also teach them about aurat from a very young age. So when these images appear in front of them, they know to close it. They know to. I mean, if you're not there with them, you should be there with them, right? Anything on in the internet should be for the house to see. Subhanallah. Try to have those kind of devices whereby the screen is so, obvious that anybody that is placed in a part of the house whereby everybody walks past. Right, so the screen, the internet is placed in a part of the house whereby everybody walks past. So that there will always be this, flow of people going past all the time. If someone asks if father-in-law was mahram if haven't consummate marriage, right? So once we nikah, normally we salam right after nikah. Oh, that's the question. Okay. But if haven't mahram, how to salam? Okay. Yeah, that's the point. Right. So I'll ask the question. Whether, I don't know, do we salam our father-in-law after nikah? Do we? Okay, I didn't. I only salam my husband. But even then also, like, I think once you get married, keep your wudhu. If you have wudhu, keep your wudhu so you can pray easily. I regret salaming my sorry, my husband's here. But I regret salaming him when I got married because like, I had to, after go and take wudhu, you have to go and like take off all your hijab and take off everything and go and wudhu yourself and go and pray Zohor or pray Asar or pray Maghrib. It's like, I think, you keep your wudhu better. You can always break your wudhu after that, kan? I mean, after the whole majlis. After you pray Isha, after you pray Maghrib, you can nullify your wudhu all you want. Right? But, I mean, I would give an advice to those who are getting married. There's no hurry to nullify your wudhu. Yeah. The sunnah for marriage is for the man to place his hand on the top of the head of the woman, and it's a specific dua to make in doing that. That's the sunnah of marriage, to place his hand on top of her head, and there's a specific dua from Rasulullah to be made at that point of doing that. Doing all this salaman back and forth, there's no sunnah lah. You can do it if you want to, but I would say, I mean, looking back at my own wedding, I think I keep my wudu the entire time would have been more beneficial. Relationship between adopted child and parent. Adopted child and parent, there is no mahram between them, right? But there are scholars that differ on that, and then one you have to go into the fiqh of it lah. Right? There's an entire discussion about adoption. Okay. For a convert, her non-Muslim uncle or grandparents, are they her mahram and won't break her wudu? Right, for a convert, right, in the Shafi'i mazhab, her non-Muslim uncle and grandparents are not her mahram. They're not mahram. Right, so yeah lah, not mahram lah. Right, so try your best lah. And I know for converts it can be quite hard. Right? Because suddenly that you come into Islam and then a lot of all these laws and rules and everything, right? And then you cover up in front of your family and everything, right? So the laws do come heavy lah. It comes heavy. So do it bit by bit, gradually. Try your best lah. Whatever you can do, try your best. Right, inshallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us ease. Okay. Alright, I'm gonna stop here for today. So we didn't go into our other book for today. So for a revert's father is also not mahram. Mahram from a linguistic meaning, in that you can't marry your father, right? But with regards to aurat and with regards to touching the skin to skin, right? The Shafi'i mazhab would say not mahram. I would say that not mahram. But with the fiqh of converts, because this is specific for converts, the fiqh of converts, the scholars open up to different opinions because of the difficulty of the convert situation. So those of you who have taken classes with me as converts, previously I used to have a few classes that I will tell you all. I'll give you all specific rulings that is specific for the case of the convert. Because for converts, it can get very difficult. Right? So the scholars, the mercy in Islam is that there are differences of opinion. And there's a mercy in Islam. Right? So that part of Islam opens up the doors, right, for her to be Muslim more easily for her. Right? So if I give you one opinion and I say that she's not mahram, that can be difficult on some people. Right? So then I will give them another opinion from another mazhab, right, that will be easier on them. Right? So that depending on your situation lah. Right? So for the convert, there is a specific there's a specific approach, right, for converts. Right, so yeah lah. But as far as possible, if you can cover your awrat in front of them, cover your awrat in front of them. As far as possible, if you can, avoid from, touching their hands and so on, do so, right? But if it's not possible, or if it causes more friction, right, then there are other opinions that they can allow for it. So for converts are it's a different you say different ball game lah. It's different because you're handling a lot of intimate interactions with non-Muslims because they are direct family, and it comes also da'wah, comes also the entire friction of being a Muslim. It comes, there's a whole, and I'm sure you all know lah, as converts, there's a whole package that comes with it. Right? So it's not a matter of halal haram, but it's really a matter of hikmah, of wisdom. It's a matter of wisdom in handling the non-Muslim family. Can non-Muslims of the same gender see our hair? Is it the same as awrat with Muslims? Good question. Non-Muslims of the same gender, there is an awrat that has to be covered in front of them. It is called awrat mihna. Awrat mihna is basically, what is it? Is that awrat mihna? It is like, for example, it's not as strict as the awrat in front of men, but still, you are to cover your hair to an extent. Right? To cover your hair, you are to wear longer sleeves. You are to wear long pants, right? But not in a sense so strict, in a sense whereby that if your forearm is seen, that's okay. If some part of your hair is seen, that's okay. If your feet are seen, that's okay. That kind of thing. But to try and be to try and cover more in front of them, right? So your hair should be covered. Yes, the answer is yes. Your hair should be covered in front of non-Muslims, female, right? It should be covered. But then again, there is the difference of opinion, right, about that matter, right? So as far as you don't have to, don't expose your hair in front of them. Right? As far as you don't have to. Okay. Same thing with the awrat in front of boys. Right? So there are boys around you, like 9-year-old boys, 8-year-old boys, or 10-year-old boys, right? To cover your awrat, but not as strict as in front of men, right? So for example, in front of men, you have to cover your awrat properly, to the wrist, all your hair is in, your hijab is over your bosom, over your chest, then wearing socks and so on. That's the full awrat of a Shafi'i mazhab, for Shafi'i mazhab. But for young boys, like 10-year-old, 9-year-old boys, if you don't wear socks, perfectly fine. If your sleeves can come up to half your forearms, perfectly fine. If you wear a shawl, around your head, with your chest area not really fully covered by the shawl, but covered by your garment and it's loose, right? Perfectly fine. It's okay. Right, so that one is because they're boys, they're not men. Right, so it's called awrat mihna. Awrat mihna is the working awrat because you have to do work in the house. So it's like a working awrat. So you can do like a loose way of covering. Right, but not so strict as there was a man around, right? It's different. Okay, alhamdulillah. Okay, I apologize if I offended anybody in my very 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 hard talk class, and I apologize if I confuse anyone. There's still any misconception or any confusion, inshallah, you can bring it to the next lesson, and I will try to iron out. Wassallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Al-Fatiha. Allah rizqana manafi'an wa amalan khatim wa sa'lim mudallal huda wa yusur bi qabl Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam wa ila arwahi ma'ani min masyikhina wa zawil hukki alaina wa ila hadrat Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wa sallam. Al-Fatiha. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. سبحانك اللهم بحمدك نشهد لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.